Well, hello everybody. It's Grace. Welcome to Eating Peace. Had quite a few emails and just let a few things stack up with people's questions around eating peace. And I definitely hear the despair that is sometimes present for people, wondering, will this never end? Will I never stop doing these crazy things with food and eating, or watching my mind spin completely off and out of control about what I did wrong and how I'll fix it and how I can't fix it, and just very, very despairing. And I just want you to know I remember feeling that way myself. I remember thinking, this has gone on for so many years of returning to this sensation and this experience of feeling like there was no answer and there's no way out. So I just want you to know, if that's been your experience around food and eating and weight and body, you certainly aren't alone. So I thought I'd share two things. The second one is a little more complex and complicated. We'll see if I can keep it short. The first thing is, though, quite simple. And that is to slow down. I know it sounds ridiculously simple, but if we really feel what that means to slow down, as if you are sitting in meditation, you know, the experience of meditating, which many of us don't even feel willing to try, because the mind is just kind of insanely running and there's so much stress. There's so many shoulds about what we ought to be doing or stopping doing. And we just want to get distracted or pulled into something to get my mind turned off. It feels really painful almost to sit still or hold still without something to distract us and watch that mind just flip out. It's not very restful. But being in touch with what else is there may not be or take as long as you think, as you sit still with no distractions. I found when I first went on a meditation retreat, I tell this story from time to time, I thought I was going to go absolutely insane. And when I really sit with the actuality of it, was I thinking that every single moment, even in the most difficult experience of the first few days? So it's an entire week-long retreat, my first one ever, of doing that much silence. And in the first few days, there was horrendous sleep patterns. I was waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning, pitch dark, couldn't even walk outside. I realized on the first night, finally waking up and just getting up. I probably woke up at more like 2 o'clock in the morning. And after an hour, okay, I'll just get up and get a cup of tea, kind of dorm room style. So there's lots of people around, needed to remain quiet. Plus that's the promise, to remain in silence and remain quiet. And thought I'll go on a walk, an early morning, middle of the night walk. And I stepped outside after getting a cup of herb tea and realized I cannot really leave the building because we're in the middle of the pitch dark forest. I cannot see. And there's no flashlights. So I can't go anywhere. I can't start walking in the woods even as a distraction. Unbelievable. The stress. Magnificent. And I just continued to feel that crashing wave of awareness about how I didn't really want to be in my own mind. I didn't like having this mind, this busy mind. We know what it's like when we're thinking about food and eating. That mind, it's stressed anyway. You could be anxious and upset and disturbed even without having any kind of eating issues. But in some ways, most of us want to escape in some way. And here we are, we're talking about those of us who have wanted to escape or change the channel or find soothing or find something compelling in eating. There's a lot of opposing ideas in eating. Um, I need to be thinner. I can't eat whatever I want. Just being hungry is the best thing. And of course, if we have all those running, then settling down, letting things be the way they are, letting our bodies being at the place they're at, not really being hungry, but just being neutral with food. I mean, letting ourselves be hungry and then satisfying the hunger and back and forth. We can't live in that childlike state of innocence when we have all those kinds of thoughts running. You know, even just eating will help this anxious feeling. I want to eat. So we almost have to question those thoughts. But that was part two, really. Yeah, at the beginning, I was saying there's two things. Slow down. Slow down. If you just feel despair and absolutely awful about where you're at with food and eating, just slow down. And the second part is inquiry. Inquire. Wonder about the thoughts. Listen to them. See what they are. Sometimes they're really crazy once you look at them and write them down. But some part of you believes it's true. And that's why you keep repetitively thinking them. So there's that. And it seems a little more work. You know, I use the work of Byron Katie in all the inquiry that we do, that I do with myself. It's because it's the simplest form of inquiry. Just catching that thought, holding still with it. Is what I'm thinking actually true? And who would I be without the thought? Using the imagination to wonder and investigate. Who would I be if I couldn't believe this thought? Wait a minute. Really? I could not believe that thought? No. That I need to be thinner? That's impossible. I need to be pressing. I need to hold that thought all the time. Or that I can't eat whatever I want. I need to watch out and be vigilant at all times. I could not believe that and just feel freedom. No, it's impossible. I'll turn into a whale. You know, all those kinds of things. But sitting and noticing the storyline, the heavy stories, the difficult stories, the impossible stories that oppose each other. That's the second step. But guess what? Slowing down and sinking still and not needing to know anything is an amazing first step. And I find that's the gift of the slowness, being willing to sit still. There is a brilliant thing that can happen there, which is you might feel completely trapped. The mind is very busy. It's reaching out and trying to figure out what to do. What's the answer? How to solve this problem? How to solve that problem? And if there's no answer, just simply no answer, just silence coming back with us, silence in the meditation holding us, silence surrounding everything. You can feel like you are going to go mad for a little while, and then guess what happens? You don't. Something happens where we settle down. We settle down. So by the third day in that first retreat I ever went on, you know, I was ready to figure out how to hitchhike, call a helicopter, get a ride, because we're deep in the woods, up a mountain. It's a long ways to the nearest airport. But I knew I wasn't going to actually leave. Not at that point. It's like, really? You can't stand it? You cannot stand it? Just being here in silence for this, it's that much of a torture to be here for 1 week. I've had friends before who've said, I can't believe you've been on week-long silent retreats. I couldn't stand that. So that's the commentary. And I understand it. It's like being with our own heads filled with all this stuff that's running in the mind about food and eating and the right things to eat and the wrong things to eat and the way we're supposed to exercise and what we're supposed to look like and how we're supposed to wear or hold ourselves and what meals are supposed to be, you know, and on and on. All those things get so busy and so piled and so heavy. No wonder we just want to escape and and numb out, eat. But I just find sitting in silence, letting the silence be the answer, or letting it offer you some answers, just being still, slowing down. Then we can begin to see more easily what all those busy thoughts are and what it's like to not believe them. What if we couldn't believe them? And maybe you have to break it down one by one. That part two, break it down. But still, what if there's no answer? What if there's no magic? Not the kind I was thinking it would be. What if the magic is just holding still, waiting, being with silence, letting silence tell you the truth, your own truth about what you should and shouldn't eat, feeling hunger and fullness in your body, like when you were a little child and you didn't worry about food. And I know some people will say, even if I say that, if you were an innocent little child when you didn't worry about food, I've worried about food since I was born, I think. I came out a fat baby, or I remember being anxious at only 5 years old and being put on a diet. So I know some have experience that's very, very old and still. Do we need to solve our problems with our thinking? Who would you be without your story? And I mean all those stories. You feel what a stressful story feels like. Like, I need to lose weight. ASAP. I need to hold on to my body shape. I need to do things with my eating to make sure it is correct. I need to be as perfect as possible. Just watching all those stories that bring so much stress, seeing if silence can be the one that's the teacher to share and hold whatever you discover in silence. What would silence do? What would silence do? What does it allow? So by the end of that week-long retreat, probably somewhere in the middle of it, 4th day, I began to sitting on all the hours there was many, many hours of completely silent sitting in meditation with the whole group during the daytime hours, with the whole group. And then there was some Q&A in the mornings and some Q&A in the evenings with the primary teacher, meditation and spiritual teacher, and who was wonderful. I felt very trusting of this person. And midway or somewhere day 4, day 5, I had an experience of just noticing how beautiful it was to be sitting there, even if my mind was saying, but wait, what's the answer? What's the meaning of life? I don't know what to do. This can't be it. This can't be it. We do the same things with food and eating. I can't just do it all by myself here the way I am. I don't have what it takes. Something's missing. I need to read another book about nutrition. Who would you be without your story? What if silence was enough of a teacher? What if your mind, the thinking mind, the busy mind, that speedy, busy mind with all its ideas, what if that one doesn't have the answers? What if being in touch with your body, feeling again what it's like to feel hunger, fullness. So just gently letting yourself stay still, slow way down. Sink into slowness, sink into silence. It was beautiful because by that 5th day, I had this experience of the joy of real relaxation. I probably even fell asleep during meditation. But then I could stay awake and be alert even. The exhaustion was so immense in my own mind about how to do things right and understanding, which was just never coming. And I think that slowing down and that waiting and stillness. Who would you be without the thought that that is not good enough? That is not enough of an answer. That just can't be it. It has to be more complicated than that. Who would you be without that story? Just pause and wait and see what you really, really want. A lot of people think they want to eat an entire half gallon of ice cream. And that seems to be what they want to do. It's not what you want to do. Because when you really ask yourself how you feel afterwards, you feel horrible. If it was just purely, beautifully what you wanted to do, you wouldn't be having a problem. You wouldn't be here listening to this. So being in touch with what we really, really want, letting the silence show you what you really, really want. It's going to be unique for you. Just be supported by it. Instead of silence being a scary and frightening place, being supported by it. So I hope that helps on the journey. We'll keep on doing more inquiry on the specific thoughts, but keep writing to me. I love getting your emails, grace@workwithgrace.com. And we do some of this very specific work in the Eating Peace Retreat that's coming up in January. And I guide people through some of the most common stressful beliefs that wind up producing all our wacko eating behaviors that are really worth questioning. So we'll do that together and eat together and be in stillness together. All right. But you can do this even if you never came to a retreat. You can do this. All right. Lots of love, everybody. Take good care.